I would like to show you one more book. Our next speaker is José Cordeiro. He's from Millennium Project, not Venezuela, but he is the citizen of the world, I would say, because he, I don't know how many countries you visited, but I guess more than 100 definitely. So today's presentation will be about Sir Arthur Clarke and the final Odyssey. So the floor is yours, Jose. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you.
I would like to ask you to be limited by 15 minutes, not more, okay? Otherwise, our interpreters will overwork. Thank you.
Okay, thank you also for the invitation. And I actually want to tell you I'll be next week in Moscow for the International Science Fiction Symposium. So I hope to see many of you, at least Alexander Sokolov and Alexander Chulok, I know are in the program as well. And I will be talking about the death of death. I am an engineer from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and I became an engineer because I was inspired by science fiction. And now I work with the Millennium Project. We look into the future, the global challenges, and we publish reports, some of which might look like science fiction in the year 2050. In fact, we have scenarios, good scenarios and bad scenarios. And we just produced our latest report, the State of the Future 20.0, that we presented at the first United Nations Summit of the Future in New York. This was a big event, and we are happy to be collaborating with them and also writing scenarios about the future of artificial general intelligence. 15 years ago, I was one of the founding faculty of Singularity University, where we talk about the future and the singularity that many people still think it's science fiction, but I think it is science real and getting closer and closer. As Ray Kurzweil has written in his latest book, The Singularity is Nearer, that just came out a few months ago, and he ratifies that by 2045, we will reach the technological singularity. Ray Kurzweil has also written science fiction, or maybe fantasy, how the future will be. It's a mix of fantasy and science fiction with his ideas about the future. But again, our magic date is 2045. As you can see in the cover of Time magazine, 2045, the year man becomes immortal. So we believe we will reach immortality and the singularity by 2045. And some people think this is science fiction still. In fact, in 2045 happens this movie, Ready Player One, which was produced by Steven Spielberg. But this is a dystopian future. Many science fiction books and movies and other productions are dystopian. And this is kind of dystopian. And it is game over for humans. In many of these science fiction, it is the end, game over. I am more optimistic. I think the game is just beginning. With the singularity, by the year 2045, we will have incredible capabilities. We will have not only immortality, but also we will have unlimited intelligence, super intelligence, the singularity. Actually, I have written about that in my global bestseller in the 3 most important languages of the world, the Spanish, English, and Chinese. But I'm also very happy that it is in Russian in 2 different editions. The Death of Death, or as the Russian prefer to call it, Death Must Die. Death Must Die. I like the name in Russian, actually. And it is now in 15 languages and coming in more languages. And again, I'll be happy to present this in Moscow next week. Because this is not science fiction anymore. The Nobel Prize in Medicine in 2012 discovered that immortality is real and that we can rejuvenate. So I plan to be younger in the future, not through the Russian app, Face app. I plan to be younger through biological rejuvenation. And I get interested in all of this through science fiction. First, Jules Verne, who was a genius at the end of the 19th century. And then just a few years later, H.G. Wells. Both inspired me to see what was coming in the future. Another one, more recent, Sir Arthur C. Clarke. I actually had the pleasure to visit him and to write an interview just before he died. And he wrote, as we know, Space Odyssey 2001, that has had many versions and also movies. But also there are 4 books in this series: Space Odyssey 2001, 2010, 2061, and the final one, 3001. We still have some time to go for that one. The ideas of Sir Arthur C. Clarke have been incredible, like the space elevators. And he's probably the only person in the world who has a dinosaur and a star named after him. But it is quite interesting, his views of the future. And so I visited him before he died, because I was also interested in the 3 laws of the future. I think this is one of the greatest achievements to think about the future and to put it into laws. He was a very good friend of Isaac Asimov. And because Isaac Asimov had 3 laws, he decided to have also 3 laws of the future. First law: when a distinguished but old scientist says that something is possible, he's probably right. But when he says it is impossible, he's probably wrong. Second law of the future: the only way of discovering the limits of the possible is to venture past those limits into the impossible. And third law of the future: any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. So basically, Sir Arthur C. Clarke was talking about magic, that we would see magic in the future, in this planet and beyond. So much has been written about Mars and other planets. Movies like Total Recall with Arnold Schwarzenegger, that has also different Hollywood versions that have inspired people like Elon Musk as well. Elon Musk plans to go to Mars, and he is actually rushing to have his Mars rockets moving to create a Mars colony, the first colony of humans on Mars, and start terraforming Mars. This is fascinating, because then the first Martians will be humans. We will be the first Martians, humans going from Earth to Mars. I am fascinated by Mars and by science fiction. And so I actually did training to go to Mars. There is an interplanetary agency in Spain to train astronauts to go to Mars. It is called Astroland. I was part of the first generation of Spanish astronauts to go to Mars. So I am ready to go to Mars and beyond. The problem about going beyond is that we need cryonics. Cryonics also came from the world of science fiction, freezing people. But in Russia now, there are 2 cryonics centers. So I had the pleasure also to visit the cryonics facilities in Russia that were inspired by science fiction. So we will go to infinity and beyond with all these technologies. The visionary Konstantin Tsiolkovsky, he said, the Earth is the cradle of humanity, but we cannot live forever in a cradle. He also said that what was impossible yesterday will be possible tomorrow, which I like to say, the science fiction of yesterday is the science reality of tomorrow. This also applies to artificial intelligence and to expanding our capabilities, because we have limited brains. But now people like Elon Musk, also inspired by science fiction, is talking about creating an exocortex that will give us super intelligence. And we will connect this exocortex to our brain. And we will have artificial super intelligence connected directly to our brain. And the robots are incredible. I brought robot Sophia, the most sophisticated humanoid robot, to Spain. And she read my book in 1 second. I wish I could read books in 1 second. But 1 second to read it in Spanish 1 second to read it in Russian, 1 second to read it in Chinese. Incredible. I wish I could do that in any language. And robots are advancing very fast. Look at this series of robots. And they will have incredible capabilities, incredible movements, more than humans. And they will also have feelings. At MIT, in the media lab, in my alma mater, they are beginning to understand the feelings of robots. And robots will be fantastic, incredible. So you will have your fantastic robots at night. In fact, with one advantage, they will not get tired at night. They will not get tired at night. But we think robots are bad. We have this Terminator idea in the West because the word robot comes from Czech. And in Czech, it means slave labor. So for us in the West, including Russia, robots are bad. Even female robots are bad. Even when they have robot sex, they are bad. However, are robots good or bad? It depends on where you are. If you are in East Asia, if you are in Japan, in Korea, or in China, robots are actually good. They are bad in the West, but they are good in East Asia. But this is not humans or robots. This is humans and machines combined, a new civilization inspired on what we learned in science fiction. And Isaac Asimov in 1940 wrote the 3 laws of robotics that are fundamental to understand these ideas of robotics, just like the 3 laws of the future of Sir Arthur C. Clarke. And my professor at MIT, Marvin Minsky, one of the fathers of artificial intelligence, said that robots will inherit the earth, but they will be us. We will be them. We will merge with the robots. All of this is called transhumanism, also based in a way in science fiction ideas. Evolution continues, but we have to do it carefully, because evolution continues. Humans have existed only about 200,000 years in this shape and form, and we are still evolving. These ideas were also talked about in Russia. I love Russian cosmism, which is also similar to transhumanism and to see the human evolution. So just to be finishing up, we need to meditate about the future, and science fiction can give us ideas even about meditation. And we have to think about yin and yang. This is so complex that yin yang has also little yin yang, and little yin yang has little yin yang. This is very complex. But as the Chinese say, we need to illuminate the world. We need to light up candles. We don't need to blame darkness. We need to illuminate the future. And I finish with this beautiful Chinese word that means crisis. Crisis in Chinese has 2 characters. The first character means danger. But the second character means opportunity. We are living in great danger, but in the biggest opportunity that humanity has ever seen. So read Death Must Die in Russian, and hope to see you next week in Moscow for the Science Fiction Symposium. Thank you. Live long and prosper.
Okay, thank you so much. It was great as always, Jose. Okay, good.